Testing. I know it's late. Sorry, but I need to get this video out regardless, so I'm posting it late rather than tomorrow. Took one trade today, one losing trade. I want to go and obviously recap what happened on the trading day and what we're looking to do over the weekend and why this trade was low probability and what I've actually noticed from, I guess, quote, my lower probability trades and my habitual habit of taking low probability trades. So let's get into it. Starting off on the higher time frames, I'll just start off on the higher time frames for both pairs. Go on the daily for NQ. Previous day we took out daily highs. We know that, made a retracement for this daily bullish fair value gap. However, I still wanted to see what price action wanted to do. Going into market open, we ended up taking out these 4-hour lows both on ES and NQ, then began trading back to the upside. When trading back to the upside, I wanted to see this bearish 4-hour get retraced into as a draw, potentially, in order to continue lower. However, we took out hourly lows and began reversing. You could see right there. So once we began reversing back to the upside, because you have to remember originally this candle was bullish, I assume this to be a potential power of 3 back to the upside, looking to see us trading into that 4-hour. What ended up happening, however, is if I go on 5 minute, yeah, there was no SMT there. And before I go into it, we also did have news because, and I'm saying this because there was a setup to the upside right here. Let me go on the 1 minute time frame. However, I never trade until news data is released. SMT down here, and change the state of delivery back to the upside. Could have looked to target these internal highs, but that's exactly what price action did. We continue back to the upside. This was news data release 10 a.m. Took out these internal highs, failed to take out these highs up here and trade back into that 4-hour bearish fair value gap. Price action was really just doing mumbo jumbo, nothing much within this range. Once we took out this internal, I wanted to potentially see price action continue higher, obviously toward this draw. But once we started to consolidate, I realized, okay, hey, we are consolidating and we still have potential to go lower if we want, having taken out internal. But in this current moment, I still want to see price action continue to the upside. Once we made a retracement for this bullish 15, I was adamant on wanting to see price action go higher. However, there was no significant internal liquidity that was taken. We ended up forming an SMT. You know, I guess you could say we did take out this. However, it's not significant enough. Not something like a clear internal draw, you know, like here or whatever the case is, right? Swing high, swing low. Formed an SMT and I did execute upon this. I had one account. I have multiple accounts, but I had one account that had around $800 left to draw it on, and I had a fresh account. I have a free reset on both of these accounts, and I told myself, if I'm going to trade the fresh account, I want to take it on the highest probability trade. So I switched over to the one with only $800 to draw down, just risk the rest of the drawdown because I do have that opportunity in order to get a free reset, and I'll go into that in a second. However, that does not negate the trade idea. I don't want to say that and have it sound like, oh, it's an excuse to take a bad trade, right? But regardless, price action did form a change of state delivery back to the upside. Like I said, I was adamant on wanting to see price action continue higher, forming an SMT within this bullish 15, also on ES right here. However, we ended up continuing to the downside. You could see right there, literally liquidated to the downside. We were off on the chart at 1120, somewhere within this range. Once price action, and then I actually did end up getting back on. However, didn't end up taking any more trades, just watching price action. Price action did provide a setup to the downside, formed an SMT right here, change of state of delivery, or micro change of state of delivery. toward these hourly and 4-hour lows as our draw, and we traded beautifully toward it. I was already off of the chart, obviously, already risk wrestled drawdown, blew that eval, and so I wasn't going to be taking any more trades, especially on a Friday. But price action did just, trade perfectly toward the draw. What else? Oh yeah, so going into it, before I get into like the evaluation stuff, I want to talk about this trade right here, and something I've noticed throughout a lot of my lower probability trades. Unfortunately, I have a bad habit that I can control, but sometimes I get a little, antsy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still human. When I buy an eval, I like to, risk really heavy, and when doing so, I don't tend to care about the quality of the setup until the end of the trade. So, meaning, I'll go into a trade regardless of whether it's low probability, high probability, risk the same amount, and once I lose or win, that's when I'll focus on the next trade being the highest probability trade, which 8 times out of 10 it will be, but it's that initial first trade that kind of gets you in the slump. And due to that, it's, well, not due to that anything. What I've noticed, what I'm trying to say is what I've noticed with those first initial trades, when they are low probability, there's not a significant draw taken. It's usually something like this. Now, don't get me wrong, there are trades like this where, it's great. I cannot use this for an example, this SMT to the upside, because we did end up taking internal right here. This would be a perfect confluence for taking internal liquidity. If you take, internal liquidity like this and then do end up forming an SMT, then that is valid as, internal liquidity sweep with an SMT, right? But if you're consolidating, of course you can, count these as internal lows as well, but the highest probability internal lows, are swing lows, swing highs. We know that. And what I've found myself doing as well with taking low probability trades, also within my back testing, the internal liquidity isn't the strongest. Let's just put it like that. It's not the strongest internal liquidity, doesn't have the best confluence, and yeah. So one thing I want to focus on going into next week, and since I do have a fresh start on all my accounts, I currently have 2 accounts. One is resetted, I had a free reset on it, and the other account I also get a free reset. It's a fresh account completely. So how I'm going to continue to approach, I guess, like trading my evals, because this is also for me to see, hey, like, do I have a clear enough understanding of my model right now in order to be trying to even get, or really just make money with it? As the funded, not funded doesn't matter if you're not consistent, right? So what's the point of getting funded if you're gonna blow the account? It's kind of stupid. But what I was going to say was, what was I going to say? With my accounts, I risk half. So where's the highlighter tool? What's half? 1200. 1, 2, 6. So I got 6 more trades until I blow the rest of my accounts. Let's just call it that. And if I do blow the rest of my accounts within the next, week of trading or 2 weeks of trading, it'll be a showcase to me that, hey, I'm not ready yet. And that's fine. That's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I've learned to definitely not try to rush that aspect. However, that doesn't mean don't put in the work in order to continue to gain the understanding and just, I guess, kind of brush it off. If you're, if you're still being consistent with your trades, I don't expect to lose every single trade, not at all. However, if I'm not as consistent as I want to be, not enough green within my P&L, and really just that, and a lot of lower probability setups taken, then that could be a sign that, hey, I need to work on something, I need to filter something out, or, really apply a significant enough confluence in order to avoid taking low probability trades or whatever the case is, and begin to implement that. But right now that's the plan. So going forth with the accounts I have, I know, and I hate yapping about accounts and funded. I think it's stupid because we put so much emphasis on, hey, I got a funded account, whatnot, and not enough emphasis on, hey, I can trade consistently. I don't care about getting funded. I want to trade. That's truthfully all I want to do is trade consistently. Because if I trade consistently, you know, if any of you do, you can finally get to see the fruits of your labor. That's the best. Who cares about a funded account not funded? Whether it's live or whatever. If that satisfaction in trading consistently, executing consistently, having a model that you understand, that's the actual dopamine, in my opinion, or that's how I get dopamine, pertaining to my trading. Not really full porting accounts, but yeah. So going forth with the accounts, since I do have three, I'm trading one at a time. But all trades from here, I want them to be the highest probability setup. Now, with confidence. Now, I do have times where there are lower probability setups that do play out, maybe mid probability. Those setups I will also be avoiding taking. So I don't want to take those setups either. I want to take the highest probability setup for the initial first trade on each account. So three very, very, the highest probability setups, forgetting about the risk reward, but just focusing on those higher probability setups for the first trade because, if we do so, then cool, you pass in a single trade. But if not, you execute it on your highest probability setup and you're able to go in and see blah, 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 right? But, yeah. Well, really for the rest of them, I just want to focus on really trading the highest probability setups for all of them. And that may mean not as much frequency in trading as there usually is, even though I can trade every single day, 100%. There are some days that are just lower probability that I avoid, but for the most part, I could trade 3, 4 times out of the week. But throughout those 3, 4 times, I will be solely focusing on the highest probability setups, like I said. I'm still going to be posting every day. We'll talk about what we're going to be doing tomorrow because I'm still going to count that within 30 days. But yeah, that's really my mindset right now. I'm not lacking any confidence or anything, and I attribute that to my back testing and my data primarily because I'm really leaning or relying on that for my confidence rather than, hey, I made a little mistake here, or I executed on the lower probability setup, or hey, I took a trade that I, maybe knew was lower probability, knew I maybe shouldn't have taken it and took a loss. I'm not beating myself up about it. I'm really just focused on, I guess, what's next. That's the best way to put it. Or my ability. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so that's all. Love you guys. Thanks for watching this video, and I will also upload tomorrow. Peace.